Hi everyone! Who's ready for the next book? I am! So I decided on who was Dr. Seuss. One of my favorite books from Dr. Seuss is Green Eggs and Ham, or Go Dogs Go, or something like that. But Green Eggs and Ham is definitely my favorite. Which Dr. Seuss book is your favorite? Maybe you should let me know in the comments below. Alright, so let's read our first chapter. Who was Dr. Seuss? In 1985, Princeton University awarded honorary degrees to 6 people. An honorary degree is given to a person who has done something important for the world. The students are most excited about one of the people being honored. When a tall, thin man with a gray beard stood up, they all leaped to their feet. Here's the picture. I am Sam, they chanted, Sam I am. Then they recited from memory all of Green Eggs and Ham, my favorite. It was a special way to show Theodore Giselle, better known as Dr. Seuss, how much his books meant to them. Among the Princeton students that year was Michelle Robinson. Many years later, she married Barack Obama and became the First Lady of the United States. In 2010, she chose another Dr. Seuss book, The Cat in the Hat, to read out loud to the nation's school children. The First Lady knew that books for beginning readers used to be solemn and boring. Then Dr. Seuss appeared with his bouncy rhymes and wild and crazy characters like the Cat in the Hat, Horton, which is Horton Hears a Who, and the Grinch. Learning to read was never quite the same. That was not chapter 1, by the way. This is chapter 1, Goofy Machines. Theodore Seuss Giselle was born in Springfield, Massachusetts on March 2nd, 1904. Springfield was full of factories turning out cars, guns, bicycles, tires, and toys. One of the factories was the brewery that Ted's grandfather had started called Kalmbach and Gazelle. Ted's father became the president of the company. Its beer was so popular that people of Springfield nicknamed the business Come Back and Guzzle. Ted grew up in a family that loved wordplay. His mother's family owned a bakery. As a child, she made up rhymes listing the pie flavors. Later, she sang her children to sleep with the same rhymes. Ted believed that his love of verse came from his memories of those pie poems. And I guess I didn't realize his nickname is Ted. And there was no pictures on that page. His sister was 2 years old, was named Margaretha, but she nicknamed herself Marnie Mecca Ding Ding Guy. Marnie Mecca Ding Ding Guy. I had to repeat that. Well, here comes my daughter Paige. I'm going to read this and she's going to listen with us. His father, also named Theodore, liked to dream up goofy, complicated inventions in his spare time.
I don't want to join.
Ted's favorite was a silk stocking back seam Wong detecting mirror. Whatever that is. Young Ted loved to hang around the zoo. He got special treatment because his father helped run the zoo. Sometimes, he said, they'd let me in the cage with the small lions and the small tigers, and I got chewed up every once in a while. He was famous for exaggerating when he told stories, meaning he just put more into it. Like, he was saying he went into the cage with the young ones and he got all chewed up. I mean, maybe they nipped at him, but they didn't chew him all up, kind of thing. Those were the pictures. After a visit to the zoo, Ted would rush home and draw animals on the walls of his room. Somehow, the animals never ended up looking quite like what he had seen, so he would make up names for them. One of his mother's favorites was a creature with ears that were 9 feet long. He called it a wimp. Like many people in Springfield, the gazelles came from Germany. Ted grew up speaking both German and English. In 1914, World War I started in Europe. Many countries were fighting against Germany. The United States was not in the war yet. That didn't happen until 1917. But Germans were becoming very unpopular in America. Let's give you that picture. Or pictures. At school, German American children were often bullied. Sometimes kids would throw rocks at Ted. The Gazelle family tried hard to prove that they were patriotic Americans. Ted's Boy Scout troop had a contest to see who could sell the most Liberty bonds, a way to help the government support the war effort. Ted's grandfather bought $1,000 worth. This made Ted one of the winners. At the award ceremony, medals were given out by former President Theodore Roosevelt. But someone in the Boy Scouts had made a mistake. There were 10 winners, yet Roosevelt had only 9 medals. When he ran out of medals, Ted was left standing alone on stage. Roosevelt bellowed, "What's this little boy doing here?" No one explained that Ted was a winner too. Ted slunk away. From then on, it was very hard for Ted to get up in front of people. Even after he was famous, he refused to give speeches. When he tried to appear on a television talk show, he was so scared that he couldn't say a word. How awful is that? He's a German American, was bullied, and then now he should have gotten a medal and never did. And it scared him to be up front of people. And it is something people are scared of, talking in front of others. After the war ended in 1918, Ted's family faced a new problem. As 1920 began, prohibition became the law in the United States. Prohibition meant that it was illegal to make or sell alcohol, including beer. The brewery had to close, and Ted's father was out of a job. The family still had enough to live on, but the loss of the brewery was a terrible blow. Now the family had much less money, just as Ted was about to graduate from high school. But education was important to the Gazelle family. No matter what, they made sure there was enough money for Ted to go to college. Ted had never paid much attention to his schoolwork. He spent most of his time writing jokes for the school paper. The one class that interested him was English. Me too. I liked English. Almost done. Alright, so prohibition. We're going to learn a little bit about that. In 1920, it became illegal to sell or manufacture alcohol in the United States. The 18th Amendment, called Prohibition, was passed by activists who thought drinking liquor was ruining people's lives. But Prohibition was not very successful. Crime groups such as the Mafia became more powerful by smuggling liquor. Gangsters like Al Capone became folk heroes. Most people kept on drinking, even though it meant they were breaking the law. Many towns had a speakeasy, a place where you could buy alcoholic drinks if you knew the secret password or knock.
I'm going to show them something quickly, okay?
The amendment was especially hard on people like the Gazelles who had made their living selling alcohol. Ted never forgot what it did to his family. Many of his early cartoons made fun of Prohibition. Cities that had been famous for their breweries suddenly lost their most important businesses, and all the tax money and jobs that went with them. Some breweries tried to survive by selling soda. Other places sold grape juice or malt syrup.
What?
They included careful instructions telling their customers exactly what not to do to their juice or syrup to make sure it didn't turn into alcohol. By the 1930s, it was clear that the prohibition was a failed experiment. In 1933, President Franklin Roosevelt signed a law that helped end it. Then he said, "I think this would be a good time for a beer." Ted's English teacher had gone to Dartmouth College in New Hampshire. He loved Dartmouth so much that Ted decided to go there too. And that is the end of Chapter 1. So, I will return for Chapter 2. If you have any questions, comment below. If you have any comments, please comment. All right, and subscribe. See you later. Bye-bye.